All right, here's the scenario. You find the absolute perfect home that you're ready to buy from a builder here in DFW. You find it, you're super excited, and then you end up online and you start doom scrolling and you realize the same home, or what you think is the same home, is like $70,000 cheaper, just like a couple cities away. And you're like, well, hey, why can't we just get that house for that price based on where it is in the other city? And you think this is gonna work, and you're gonna submit an offer and it's gonna work and everybody's gonna be excited. Why not just lowball it and call it a day? It doesn't quite work like that. And I want to explain to you why. If we haven't met before, my name is Zach. My team and I, we sell new construction real estate here in DFW, whether it's builder inventory, which we do a lot of, or buying from the ground up and building with them, a lot of that too. So I want to give you some insight into why you see pricing differentials across DFW and why this is not all equal. And truthfully, why there's going to be a hard truth in here close to the end that if you don't get this, it'll probably end up being a frustration point for you. So I just want to be transparent with you on some of these things. So one, we have to start out with the idea that DFW is absolutely massive, right? And you thinking that what you would get in, Celina or Prosper or Frisco, thinking you could look at that home and find it in Princeton and then ask the people in Celina to get the price from Princeton to Celina. It's crazy. I know we think that's how this works, but it's there's so much more to it, right? That would be kind of like walking into the Lexus dealership and saying, hey, Lexus, give me Toyota Corolla pricing because y'all are both made by the same manufacturer. Toyota makes both, so Lexus, give me, the price for the Corolla when I really want the really nice Lexus. And you would just be like, they would look at you like, what? It doesn't make any sense. So you don't get to do that. It doesn't quite work that way, because here's the thing, so many different factors go into this, and I'm hoping this will give you a little bit of insight into that. What's standard in one community might be luxury in another community, and even if it's built by the same exact builder, there might be different standard feature sets. Plus there's a whole other list of things that go into how these builders price out their communities. So I want to show you an example. So I was trying to find something that we could talk through in real time. So I'm going to show you my screen, and this is with one of my favorite builders. So this is not just a them thing. This is across all of them: Highland, Pacesetter, Perry, Bloomfield, all of them, pricing, right? So I just want to show you this, right? So for example, this home right here on the screen. This is a 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,900 square foot house. It's a Chesterfield plan, and so this is it's listed as move-in ready to go. It's at $549. So this is on a 70-foot lot neighborhood down south. This is actually in Ridge Crossing in Waxahachie. So kind of down south. If we're looking at the map, that one is so $549 right down here in Waxahachie. Now, if you were to decide, hey, you know what, I really don't like Waxahachie, I want to come north, and then you just, you hop on 35 and you just jump this way, you take 35 across to 20, and then you get on 20 and you take 20 and you take it till it becomes 635, and then you get on 30, and then you come right out here and you say, hey, I want to look in Sonoma Verde. And I'm saying, oh, look, they have houses on 70-foot lots. What's the dealio? And then you're going to click on it and you're going to say, hey, I wonder if they have that floor plan. Oh, look, they do. Same floor plan, 2934, 585. So we jumped $40,000 just in a simple, 45 to 50 minute drive realistically across the Metroplex. And you're like, well, why? Why is that not the same price? Why is one neighborhood significantly more priced? Because on paper, it's like, oh, this looks like the same house. And it's like, well, maybe it's the same floor plan, yes, but are the finishes the same? Is the standard features the same for the community? Is all of those things inside the house? It's a simple comparison, but it's also, they could be very drastically different, and you've got to kind of just understand that dynamic. The other thing that drives this more than anything else, these two things drive pricing more than anything else. Here in Texas, it's school district and it's development costs, right? So in that example, both Waxahachie and Rockwall are great school districts. So they'll rate out about the same. But when you look at so for example, if you're making a Princeton to Prosper comparison, those are not the same school districts. Those are vastly different school districts. Not that the Princeton one is bad, but when you look at ratings and test scores and just the investment in the academics and the investment in all the things going on, Prosper's is leaps and bounds ahead of where Princeton is, and Princeton is growing. So I'm not knocking that, but like the desirability of that area drives pricing. The other thing that drives pricing in a lot of these deals is land and development cost. So what it costs to buy land in Waxahachie is very different than what it costs to buy land in Rockwall. And so you've got all of the development costs, not only just the cost of buying the land, but the cost of the development, right? So it's like getting the roads and the water and all the infrastructure and the grading and the retaining walls. And so what happens is you end up, so developers start at the top and they hold the keys, and until we get developers to come off the pricing of land, and they're not going to, because land is a finite resource, and eventually we're not producing more of it, right? So until that happens, which it's not, developers come in and then they set the price for the builders, and they say, hey, we're going to develop this 1,000 home site. Here's the thing, you can buy in and get the land. Well, then, so they set the cost, and then the builders go in and they buy chunks of land at millions and millions of dollars, and then they start building on them, and they're in this to make money. So they're trying to figure out, okay, well, if we have this much in land and this much in development, and this is what it's costing us in labor and materials, and this is what we've got to pay for with permitting, because that's very different. What's required in Celina may not be required in Forney, right? So every city and municipality sets the rules and expectations of what they can do and what they can't do. And then developments come in and say, hey, for this development, it has to be a full brick development. Like we want zero siding. For the other ones, they say, hey, you can have a little bit of siding, but you have to have a wrought iron fence along the back of any of your green spaces, or you have to have certain number of trees. So all of those things kind of get factored in how builders price out their homes. It's also factored in based on, again, demand, right? So if you're looking up north where there is a ton of growth going and has probably helped inflate and push pricing forward, there's not as much of that down south. Not yet. It's coming. I promise you, they're coming that direction. And so you need to just, like, when supply shrinks and demand grows, price increases, right? So you don't get to look at this and be like, oh yeah, it's an apples to apples comparison, and so if it's that price over here, it should be the exact same price over there, and I should get all the incentives that go with it. Because you have to, here's the real truth, $40,000 in closing credit in one city and zero in another is not based on the fact that they like one more than the other. It's more based on that's what they need to do to move those homes and to get people to buy in those places, right? So builders raise prices strategically based on what's going on in that micro small market, based on what's going on also in, like, with their competition in that neighborhood, right? And so lower prices, higher incentives might be used to like push a struggling neighborhood, or be used to like close out a neighborhood that they're trying to be done with, right? And so you have to understand all of those dynamics. Are we able to go into builders right now and say, hey, we would like a little bit of a price reduction. We know you're already advertising a rate promo. We know you're potentially advertising closing costs, and maybe get some appliances thrown in. Potentially, yes. But are we going to take a $500,000 house and make it a $390,000 house, plus get a 4.99 rate, plus get $20,000 in closing costs, plus get appliances, all because you feel like that they should give you that? No, we're not. And you have to be realistic in what you expect, and you have to understand all of the dynamics that play into these. And the land costs are some of the biggest things that are hurting the development here in DFW, because the developers, they know that they're in control because they control the land, and these builders are going to have to come in and pay what they want, or they're going to have to renegotiate, which is also why you see sometimes, so let's take it in even smaller, and sometimes you'll see like pricing changes significantly within the same neighborhood. And it's like, well, why did that happen? It's like, well, what we paid for the land in phase 1 is significantly less than what we're having to pay for these next phases. So in order to compensate, we have to adjust our pricing, and it's going to push the market, and it's going to change that dynamic there as well. Or new builders come in and they offer new features, or builders start cutting back on features. And so you have to examine all of those things together. And I just want to give you, hopefully if you hear me, you're hearing me say like, yes, we can negotiate on things. Yes, we can ask about price reductions. And yes, we're seeing that in a lot of places, but you can't compare, like you can't take them like this and put them together even when it's the same builder, because there's so many different factors that go into these things. And now here's the hard truth. Here's the one that I feel like I need to say, and I don't know the right way to say this to you. So I'm just gonna say this, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I need to say this as best as I know how. If the builder was willing to accept your ridiculous offer, what do you think that means for everybody else in your neighborhood and the future of your neighborhood? So for example, if you believe that you're special and you're not, and you think, oh, I could just get this super amazing deal and they're only gonna give it to me, but everybody else is gonna pay full price or more, you're kind of fooling yourself. You're crazy. Right? Because if they would take your offer, they would take Susan's offer, and they would take Harry's offer, and they would take Bill's offer, and they would take Alicia's offer, and then all of a sudden everything would be all out of whack. And you, like, if you're buying in a neighborhood, you don't want that, right? What your home is selling for, what they're putting together in your deal is essentially setting the bar for future comps in that neighborhood, which is what hurts your equity in the future. Because here's the thing, you're gonna get mad when it's like, oh, well, they're selling them super cheap and now I can't sell my home. Well, they did the same thing for you. You have to work in the confines of all of those things, right? The sales rep's job in that neighborhood is protecting, not, and this sounds the wrong way. It's not only protecting the builder's future sales, it's protecting what's going on in the neighborhood too. Because you don't want to be the person that bought for $700 and then 2 years later, the same home with similar, features, the builder's selling for $500. You're going to be in trouble, because then you're going to try and sell, and you're not going to have the value you need, and you're going to end up upside down. And then you're going to be pissed. And so if they're willing to accept your crazy offer, they might be willing to accept everybody's crazy offer. So we don't necessarily want them doing that. The other thing that's important to know is, like in Texas, if it's listed on the MLS, like if the builders have it, and like you can find it on Realtor or Zillow or Redfin or whatever, if that deal closes, they have to record the sale. Like they have to record those notes. Technically, it's not public record, but other agents can go in and find the pricing on those things. So on the one hand, you can use it as a negotiating point. On the other hand, if they go too crazy and an appraiser's using it, it might just tank the value of your home. So be logical. Also know that part of the reason the incentives are structured the way that they are, and people say, oh, the prices are just inflated. Maybe in some cases, yeah, maybe a little bit they are, but they're using that money to get you to an affordable rate, or to help pay your closing costs down, or to move that home. And the truth is, incentives in some ways can get hidden in a transaction, meaning like you could see on paper the same exact home, hey, it's $549 and it's two streets over, and one person paid $549 and got $15,000 in closing costs, and one person paid $549 and only got $5,000 in closing costs. And it's like, well, on paper it looks like the same house, and maybe, yeah, but what you got in that transaction is very different than what somebody else got in their transaction. So that's why it's more beneficial to you, A, from like the use of the money, and B, just for the overall structure of the neighborhood, to negotiate more in your, like, toward your closing costs, toward like the things that help you, but don't necessarily impact the neighbors around you. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, because I feel like I'm kind of talking in like random circles with that. So you don't want to win the negotiation but lose the long-term value. Please don't be short-sighted, and instead be more focused on the long-term equity that you're getting in your neighborhood. So negotiate for things like blinds and appliance packages. They're already, a lot of these builders are already offering the closing costs. Ask for a little bit more on the closing costs. Get a little bit off the price price, but don't go crazy, because it's like they're gonna laugh you out of the building, and it's gonna be like, well, let's just submit the offer and see. It's like, okay, we submitted it. No, like, just no. We're just not doing that, because we have so much more in these, and we know, at some point we can sell this house for what we think it's worth. Now, if it doesn't sell, that's a different conversation. But trying to get, Princeton, Farmersville pricing in Frisco, Prosper, Celina, you're wasting your breath. Are we seeing some massive price reductions up there? Yes, that's a topic for another video. But are we gonna get down to $400,000 or $500,000 off? We're not. So be smart in your negotiations. Be smart in the things that you ask for. Compare across neighborhoods as across different neighborhoods in as close of proximity as you can. If you have questions on this kind of stuff, this is what we do, and I'm trying to be helpful with you. And I can give you all these examples, but if you want to look at it in your specific scenario, I'd love to have a conversation with you. You can put our contact information. It's going to be down at the bottom of the screen. Let's just jump on a Zoom call or jump on a phone call and just kind of talk through it and see what potential is out there. And I want to tell you, we are still finding deals with people every single week, getting closing costs covered, getting rate buy downs, getting appliance packages, a little bit on the price reductions in some spaces. A lot of these builders are starting to reduce their pricing on the front end, and there's a little bit more to go. So we are able to do that with the right realistic expectations, and that's the biggest piece of that. So call us or text us or email me if you have questions. The other thing I want to tell you, if you're like tired of browsing on Zillow and Realtor and Redfin, and you're like, I don't even know what I'm looking for, I want you to check out our website. I'm going to put the QR code on the screen. And you can browse specifically new construction homes. You can search by plans, you can search by communities, you can search by builders, and it's only new. And I just want you to be able to look at only new stuff. And if you have questions, it's a great resource for you. Go check that out. And if you're not, last one on this, if you're not here in Dallas, we have a relocation guide for you. Got some of our favorite neighborhoods and some of my favorite restaurants in there. I would love to give that to you as a resource. It's on the website, or it's down in the description of this video. But guys, I get it. You want a deal. Everybody wants a deal, but you're smarter than that. And the key is being strategic in how we get your deals done. So if I can help you, I would love to. I hope this helps. And if you have questions, please leave them down in the comments. I'm curious to see what you think. So guys, have a great week, and we will see you in our next video.